The Soft Revolution: Why Black Women Are Done Surviving and Ready to Thrive. You know what nobody tells you about survival? That it's exhausting, that carrying the weight of your own trauma, your own hustle, your own need to prove you belong will eventually break you down if you don't learn to set it down. And for Black women, especially, the world has taught us that survival is our superpower, that we're supposed to be strong, unshakable, endlessly capable of holding it all together. But what happens when you're tired of surviving? What happens when you're ready to actually live? I recently had the honor of sitting down with Christine Gonzalez, a woman whose story is a testament to the power of resilience, faith, and the refusal to let your past define your future. Christine is someone who has walked through fire, who has faced unimaginable pain, and who has chosen again and again to rise. She's not just surviving anymore, she's thriving. And she's using her voice to light the way for others who are still finding their footing in the dark. Christine's work is about breaking cycles, building community, and reminding Black women that their stories, no matter how messy or painful, are their greatest source of strength. She's a force, a truth teller, and someone who refuses to let anyone walk alone through the valleys she's already crossed. Today, I want to share some of the insights from our conversation because they're not just Christine's truths, they're ours too. Let's start here. Resilience is not about being unbreakable, it's about breaking and then choosing to put yourself back together anyway. It's about looking at the pieces of your life scattered on the floor and deciding that you're worth the work it takes to rebuild. Christine's journey and the stories of the women she's highlighted show us that no matter how dark it gets, no matter how overwhelming the pain feels, there is always a way forward. Always. Take Tiffany Vinny and Leslie Flo, the co founders of the Wine Concierge. These two Black women left stable jobs, jobs that gave them paychecks and security, to step into an industry that didn't even see them. The wine industry historically has not been a welcoming space for Black women. It's been exclusive, gate kept, and frankly dismissive. But Tiffany and Leslie didn't wait for an invitation. They didn't wait for someone to make room for them. They created their own space. Think about that for a second. They walked away from the safety of a steady paycheck during a time when the world was falling apart. COVID had just turned everything upside down. People were losing jobs left and right. Uncertainty was the only constant. And in the middle of all that chaos, these two women said, you know what? We're going to bet on ourselves. We're going to build something that doesn't exist yet. We're going to create a platform for minority produced wines because if we don't, who will? They leveraged COVID relief loans, built networks from scratch, and launched an e commerce platform dedicated to uplifting Black owned wine brands. Today, the Wine Concierge is thriving. It's hosting events, running a wine club, and giving visibility to winemakers who would otherwise be overlooked. Their story isn't just about entrepreneurship, it's about resilience. It's about being pushed out of spaces that refuse to value you. And instead of shrinking, instead of giving up, you build something new. You create the table you were never invited to. And that is power. But here's the thing. Resilience doesn't mean you do it alone. It doesn't mean you grit your teeth and push through in silence. One of the most important lessons Christine shared is this: your story is your strength. The battles you face, the trauma you carry, the cycles you're trying to break, they're not things to hide. They're not things to be ashamed of. They're the very things that connect you to others, that create space for healing, that remind someone else they're not alone. Christine's own story is raw and real. She survived abuse as a child, abuse that left scars most of us can't even imagine. She endured domestic violence, addiction, homelessness, and loss. She was the oldest sibling, the one who tried to shield her younger brother and sister from the horrors happening around them. She carried that weight for years, and for a long time, that pain shaped her life in ways that felt inescapable, a cycle that seemed impossible to break. But Christine did break it, not because she was superhuman, not because she had some magical strength the rest of us don't have. She broke it because she chose to do the hard work. She chose faith. She chose to believe that her life could be different even when everything around her said otherwise. And now she's using her story to help others see that they can do the same. That no matter how ugly, how isolating, how overwhelming your trauma feels, there is hope. There is change. There is love waiting on the other side of your healing. And that brings me to the second big truth Christine shared: community over comparison. This one hits different, doesn't it? Because we live in a world that constantly tells us to compete, to measure ourselves against each other, to look at another Black woman's success and feel like it somehow diminishes our own. But that's a lie. That's a trap designed to keep us small, to keep us isolated, to keep us from building the kind of collective power that could actually change things. Marty McDonald, the founder of Boss Women Media, knows this intimately. Marty left her corporate job with no savings, no safety net, and a dream to empower Black women entrepreneurs. But as she was building her business from the ground up, she found herself caught in what she calls the comparison trap, watching other women succeed visibly online while she was struggling in silence, feeling like everyone else had it figured out while she was barely holding it together. It's a feeling so many of us know too well. But Marty made a choice. Instead of letting comparison consume her, she decided to invest in others. She distributed $1 million to women entrepreneurs. $1 million. Let that sit with you for a moment. She built Boss Women Media into a hub where Black women could find resources, support, and inspiration. She shifted the narrative from scarcity to abundance, from competition to community. And in doing so, she reminded us all that there is enough room for every single one of us to succeed, that another woman's win is not your loss, that when we lift each other up, we all rise. Christine echoed this so beautifully in our conversation. She talked about how important it is to celebrate each other's victories, to break free from the comparison trap, and to remember that every Black woman's path is different. Your timeline is not my timeline. Your journey is not my journey. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's exactly how it should be. Now, let's talk about the systems that make all of this so much harder than it needs to be. Because we can talk about resilience and community all day, but we also have to acknowledge the barriers that Black women face, barriers that are real, that are structural, that are designed to keep us out. Alicia Shears' research on Black women tech entrepreneurs in Atlanta and Silicon Valley lays this out in painful detail. Black women entrepreneurs face greater obstacles in accessing funding, in building networks, in combating the stereotypes and exclusion that are baked into the tech ecosystem. Despite being some of the most innovative, driven, and capable founders out there, Black women receive less than 1% of venture capital funding. 1%, let that sink in. But here's what's remarkable: despite those barriers, despite the lack of funding and support, despite being told over and over again that they don't belong, Black women continue to launch and sustain businesses. They continue to innovate. They continue to pave the way for the next generation. They seek entrepreneurship, not just for profit, but for autonomy, for flexibility, for the freedom to define success on their own terms. And they build their own networks, their own support systems, their own paths forward. That's resilience. That's faith. That's the refusal to let a broken system define your worth or your potential. So, what do we do with all of this? How do we take these stories, these truths, and turn them into action in our own lives? Here's my challenge to you: share your story, seek help when you need it, support someone else's journey. Whether it's reaching out for resources, building community, or simply listening without judgment, take one step today toward breaking the cycle of isolation and comparison. Because your story matters, your pain matters, your healing matters. And when you share it, when you let yourself be seen, you give someone else permission to do the same. Christine's journey and the journeys of Tiffany, Leslie, Marty, and the countless Black women documented in Alicia's research, they all point to the same truth. Resilience transforms pain into power. Your story is your strength. And community, real, honest, supportive community, is what makes it all possible. You don't have to do this alone. You were never meant to. And the world needs you. Not the version of you that's holding it all together, not the version that's pretending to be unbreakable, but the real you. The you that's tired, the you that's healing, the you that's learning to be soft in a world that taught you survival. Because softness is not weakness, rest is not laziness, and choosing yourself, setting boundaries, saying no without guilt, that's not selfish, that's sacred. Christine reminded me of something I think we all need to hear: that at the end of the pain, at the end of the struggle, there is hope, there is change, there is love, and there is a version of your life that you can't even imagine yet. A version where you're not just surviving, but thriving, where you're not just getting by, but truly living. So here's what I want you to do right now, today, this week. I want you to think about one thing you've been carrying that isn't yours to carry anymore, one expectation, one role, one version of yourself that you've outgrown, and I want you to set it down. Not tomorrow, not when things calm down, not when you feel ready, now. Because the truth is, you'll never feel ready. There will always be one more thing to do, one more person to please, one more fire to put out. But your life, your joy, your peace, they can't wait. They've been waiting long enough. I want you to reach out to one person this week and tell them your truth. Tell them you're tired. Tell them you're healing. Tell them you need support. And then I want you to show up for someone else. Listen to their story. Celebrate their win. Remind them they're not alone, because that's how we change the world. Not by being superhuman, not by pretending we have it all together, but by being honest, by being vulnerable, by choosing community over competition, connection over comparison, and healing over hiding. This is the soft revolution. And it starts with you. It starts with the courage to say, I'm done surviving. I'm ready to live. I'm ready to rest. I'm ready to rise, not because I have to, but because I deserve to. So let's choose that. Let's choose healing. Let's choose community. Let's choose to believe that our stories, no matter how messy, are worth telling. And let's choose to rise together, because that's where the real power is. Not in the grind, not in the hustle, but in the softness, in the rest, in the radical act of choosing ourselves unapologetically and without explanation. The world told us we had to survive, but we're here to tell the world we're done with that. We're here to thrive, and we're taking everyone who's ready with us.